So obviously the Ravens just traded for Roquan Smith a couple days ago, and I was on TikTok like the day after it happened, and I came up on this video by an account named Theo Ash NFL, who actually makes some good content. You should check him out. But let's hear what he had to say regarding this trade.
Baltimore Ravens, what happened? I'm genuinely asking, what happened? What is the logic? Smith's contract is like very much over after this season, so this is just a rental for a couple games. Then you're going to have to pay both Roquan Smith a huge contract in an offseason where you have to pay Lamar Jackson a huge contract. And you do have to pay Lamar Jackson a huge contract. So the gamble that they're making here is they are an off-ball linebacker away from winning the Super Bowl. Now, I like the Ravens, but I'm not so sure that's true. I don't know. To me, a second, a fifth, and a huge contract for Roquan Smith is a little steep. And Roquan Smith is a good player, don't get me wrong. He's got a really good feel for coverage. He can actually move backwards and still be useful, unlike Patrick Queen, for example. But overall, I think a second-round pick, a fifth-round pick, and all that cap space is going to be more useful for the Bears than Roquan Smith will be for the Ravens.
So the logic isn't really that flawed. Like in most situations, like this is probably the way to think about it. But here's what you have to remember with this Baltimore team in this situation right now. Okay? You mentioned the Lamar contract situation, and you also mentioned the that the Ravens with this trade kind of signify that they believe they're only one interior linebacker rather away from being a Super Bowl contending team. And here's the thing about both of those things, right? The Lamar contract situation is kind of the reason why this trade makes sense, because I think what we can all agree on with Baltimore is that the front office fucked up not paying him, right? Regardless of how much money you think he might deserve, the front office made a bad decision in not paying him this off season. But it happened, so now you have to own up to it, right? And now you have to understand that one of two things is going to happen this off season. Either we're going to pay him a ridiculous amount in which we cannot really build a good team around him, or he's not going to be on the team, which is sad to think like that, but unfortunately that's the situation the front office and the team has put themselves in. So essentially this is the last year that you can build like a super talented roster around him, or at least attempt to do so. And although it's hard to do it through the trade, the Ravens have actually shown to have a capable team this year. They just haven't really used it properly, and they didn't address two big things that are probably the biggest problem with this team. That is, of course, an offensive weapon on the outside. That is, in other words, a true wide receiver one that Lamar has chemistry with and trusts to throw the ball to. And the other thing is interior linebacker play. The Ravens linebacker core is not, it's very mid, very mid. And then as far as like a front seven in general, like the front line is very capable, but is old and inconsistent. It doesn't play, like the defense does not play 4 quarters, which in all fairness is fine, right? Because you have Lamar Jackson, like you're supposed to be able to, like, you hold a team to 20, that's your job is done. And I'm somebody, and I think the Ravens are too, given that our interior linebacker history is C.J. Mosley and then Ray Lewis. I'm somebody that believes you need a good centerpiece in the defense to be good, somebody with discipline, somebody that understands what the hell is going on. Anytime I talk about the Ravens defense, I tend to slander Pat Queen a lot, and mainly because he was a first round pick and has not lived up to expectations. He's not a bad player, and the blame doesn't fall all on him, but he does not have discipline. He misses tackles, and he's got what do we call him, stone hands. So anyway, back to the whole purpose of this video. I made a video last week talking about why Baltimore should make a move for a wide receiver, and it was really kind of a similar reason, right? The Lamar contract situation, this is the year, and my big thing with it was we're never gonna know if Lamar is worth that $250 million guaranteed if we don't see how he plays with a true wide receiver one on the field. And unfortunately that's gonna remain, and that's where I become indifferent with this trade, because like I asked myself after this, I was like, would I rather have this Roquan Smith deal or Jerry Jeudy? Not even DJ Moore, because I would probably pick DJ Moore, or Jerry Jeudy, right? Somebody who I consider to be worse. And honestly, I didn't know, because obviously Roquan Smith is the more valuable player, but when you look at this whole, oh, we have no choice but to be contending, and obviously, you can argue whether or not Roquan Smith puts Baltimore in the contender category, I would say right now, no, they're right. Obviously, they're a couple steps behind the top dogs in the AFC type deal. But in order to get to the promised land, sometimes you got to do what you failed to do before, specifically in this Ravens situation. Like, obviously they have failed to address the true wide receiver one, or they tried to do it through the draft. And not to say Hollywood Brown wasn't a capable wide receiver one, but he wasn't like that guy. DJ Moore is a guy, right? And that's what I'm really referring to. And since they didn't address that really at all, obviously Deshaun Jackson, whatever, it does make me indifferent about the Roquan Smith trade, because like I said, and like Theo said, you are basically saying that we're contending right now this year by making this trade for Roquan Smith, knowing the contract situation, right? So which is fine to me, right? Because I just explained the whole Lamar contract situation. Like, this is the last year you can do it. You might as well, try your hardest to win this year, even if you're not actually going to do as good as you possibly can, make the situation a little bit better for yourselves, right? And I like that we're contending move. But if you're gonna do that, go all out. Go get that receiver, right? Finish it. Finish the job, right? Do your job and then sit back and then watch it all unfold. And then you're going to have a hectic and shitty offseason, but cross that bridge when you get to it, that you have no choice. Like, this is the year to do it. I mean, it's simple as that. You like like I said, the Lamar contract situation, obviously it wouldn't normally be like this, but because of the contract situation, because you didn't pay him, now you have to think like this, okay? And so as much as I did mention I don't like that we didn't address the wide receiver spot, if we let's just say like we had to make one trade, defense does win championships, especially in Baltimore, right? And I think if you were to ask the Ravens, or tell the Ravens, okay, you can pick one defensive player, only one, to add to your team schematically, scheme-wise, and as far as personnel, disregarding all contract situations, there's not a lot of people you put over Roquan Smith. Like, this revolutionizes Baltimore's defense. Now, Baltimore, let's put the numbers aside, okay? Because Baltimore's defense has obviously been disappointing because the personnel's there. Obviously, losing Marcus Williams has been painful, but he'll be back, right? Which is huge, okay? Because you look at the secondary is talented, okay? Now, I mentioned the front seven, okay? The linebacker play is severely weak. It's mid as shit, okay? And then when you look at the D line, it's good. The names are there. Not a bad run defense. Little bit of a pass rush, but just not a four-quarter defense. That's the bottom line, okay? They tire out and they play a lot worse in the second half, usually, especially against things like the run. The Ravens defense personnel-wise had the personnel to be a top 10 defense, had the potential to be a top 10 defense. Now when you add Roquan Smith, they have the potential to be a top 5 defense, which means they'll probably be a top 10 defense because the Ravens defense has failed to meet their potential, right? So that's the way I think about this. And again, I'm probably repeating myself, but first of all, actually, if you watch the Ravens defense, you will 100% see what I mean about linebacker play, right? But again, like I mentioned, especially in Baltimore, I think in any defense you need a good centerpiece to be an elite defense, and some kind of good centerpiece, at least a disciplined one, right? But when you have like a playmaker in the middle, it just completely revolutionizes what you can do. And Roquan Smith, he's good. And I mentioned Tyus Bowser comes back, and the rookie David Ojabo will make his debut soon. See if he can give Baltimore more pass rush. God damn it! But whatever. To conclude my argument, this is an adequate trade for Baltimore due to the Lamar contract situation. You've already hold yourself not paying him in the offseason. You might as well make the most out of his last rookie contract. Obviously, you're gonna have a hell on earth type of free agency, and the reality of it is maybe you're not making this deal with the intentions of bringing both of these guys back. But here's the thing, is that if Lamar does end up walking next year, which is a sad thing to say if about, well, then maybe you can bring Roquan Smith back, and all of a sudden you have a good roster to bring somebody else in, either through the draft, via signing, via trade, you name it. One thing I know about Baltimore is that they don't like to pay people, and they are not afraid to adapt to their personnel, right? So I'm just thinking about those things as you go forward. But also, right, if you go and win a championship this year, all the pain and everything that all the detriment down the road is really, it doesn't matter because you got a ring. Like, so whatever, give the dude his money and keep moving, because the bottom line is, right, like, as much as, you can, regardless of whether or not you think Lamar can lead a team to a championship as a quarterback, he's like there's no replacing him. He's one of one, like he's unique. So I don't know. It might be a case of you don't know what you have until it's gone, but the hope is that it's never gonna be gone. The hope is that Lamar's a Raven for life. Whatever. One thing I did forget to add too is that everyone's talking about being able to pay Roquan Smith next year. Well, there's not a out of the realm of possibility that Baltimore trades some of their other aging good talent on the defensive end in order to bring back a younger Roquan Smith in a more valuable position, that is the middle linebacker, right? Given the shittiness of the Lamar contract situation, the Roquan Smith problem can be looked at as kind of a good problem to have, but I don't know.